Hey guys, Ryan Earnhardt here from CreativeSoundLab.tv. Well, today we're checking out the Focusrite Clarett PLUS OctoPre. This is a brand new product. We've seen the OctoPre before by Focusrite, and it's a great way to add ADAT functionality to an existing interface, add an extra 8 channels, but we haven't had anything at this quality. And so this is the Clarett PLUS line from Focusrite. So today I want to show you how to hook up the Clarett PLUS OctoPre to outboard gear, then do a quick preamp test on drums, and then finally show you some real-world examples of layering outboard in a mix. Let's get started. So first of all, the Clarett PLUS line has improved specs over the previous Clarett line. We also have all new digital to analog conversion with a 6 dB difference of dynamic range. So how does this translate to real-world use? Well, compared to my other interface, I noticed that the Clarett PLUS OctoPre and the OctoPre had just overall a very pleasing kind of warm sound. It sounded very deep. I could hear space between the notes. And even on the OctoPre, which I'm using as my monitor feed, I noticed that the dim function, it didn't actually sound like it was dimming 18 dB. It really kind of threw me off because I could hear all the detail. And I'm used to maybe losing some of that detail at lower volumes, but I was able to hear a lot of the detail when dimming my monitors. Kind of icing on the cake, I decided to try my old interface with the clocking via ADAT from the Clarett PLUS. And I noticed an immediate difference with the old interface and its internal word clock. It seemed like it was kind of harsh. But then I switched to clocking via the ADAT cable coming from the Clarett PLUS, and I noticed that it was much smoother in the top end. So it's definitely a win-win scenario because I not only extended the in and out, I got better conversion, but I also got the benefits of a better word clock for my existing interface. Now here I have it set up as kind of a classic 1-2 punch. I have the Clarett PLUS OctoPre as the main interface, and this is the interface that my DAW sees. But then I have the Clarett PLUS OctoPre as the auxiliary interface that's extended via ADAT. So the hookup. This is really simple. You just need 2 ADAT cables, one to go to the in to the out, and the out to the in, and the host interface. Here we have the OctoPre on top, and so we'll just connect them using the 2 ADAT cables. Next we have the DB25, and that's for our line output. To specify what goes on this output, we'll want to make sure to select the option of ADAT goes to line out. All the functions of the OctoPre are actually right here on the front panel. So while we're here, we'll want to make sure to specify the correct sample rate and to specify the clock source. Now for this, I actually have it running as my master word clock, so you'll see that it's indicated as internal, but I could also have this set to BNC or ADAT. For the inputs, it really depends on your use. If you're looking to extend the interface, get more preamps, well then you're going to use XLRs. But if you're looking to hook up outboard gear, then you'll need to use 1/4 inch. Now you could also hook this up to a patch bay, so we could have at the very top row of a patch bay the outputs, then it flows down naturally via half normaling. That's not how I did it here because I wanted to experiment with kind of a hub approach where I only run 2 ADAT cables out to the gear, and then my analog lines are only 1 foot to 3 feet in length. So it's really up to you how you want to set it up. However, if you want to use it for its preamps, then you'll have to manually unplug the 1/4 inch cables and plug in the XLR cables to get access to the preamps. One thing to note is that the gain knobs on the front still control the line input level. You could think of it as like a line input trim, where if you want to drive a piece of outboard really hot, then you actually have a built-in pad by turning the volume all the way down. But then if you have, say, unbalanced gear or maybe -10 gear, then you have the ability to boost the input. And I actually have a couple pieces of gear that are kind of noisy, and I'd rather boost at the OctoPre than boosting the output. Specifically my 160X, I really don't want to add too much gain there, so I can do it at the OctoPre using the gain knob. I mentioned that most will use this for extra line in and line outs, but I want to do a quick preamp test. This is actually great if you have a desktop interface with only 2 inputs. A lot of them have ADAT, and you can add 8 additional preamps. So let's set up a drum set, hook up some mics, and see how it sounds. Okay, now I want to turn on the air option, and this is an analog circuit built into each of the preamps. I'll first play you just a little bit of the previous example and then switch on the air for the kick in and the snare top mic. Yeah, so I really like that on kick in and snare top. It gives me that attack on that kick. It gives me that clarity on the snare. I think it's a really good fit. Now, the air circuit could also be used on line level sources, which is actually really nice if you're doing processing with outboard. So for example, today with our mixing with outboard, we have on output 1, our kick drum, goes to the 160X compressor and then back in, and I've activated the air circuit to add some attack to this kick drum.
I know there will be light.
So if you remember, we have inserts to each of these channels, and I wanted to kind of play around with some of that workflow. I have a Aphex 204 hooked up to add some big low end to that kick, and then we could also engage that air circuit for some top end boost on that kick drum. Next up on output 2 is my bass guitar, so the WT comp, and in series, right after it, we have the successor. This is kind of a clean compressor. We're just trying to get control here. Next up is snare on channel 3. And here I've chosen the EQP-WA for a nice low-end boost to kind of just add some weight to this dance tune, kind of make it a beefy snare. But also I added the air circuit on the input to add some clarity.
You got a decision to stay blind or unlock the vision.
Our vocal is on channel 4. I have that going to a 76A, and then the 902 de-esser is following that via the insert jack. So if I'm using some aggressive compression and I need to control some S's, then I can activate the 902 de-esser.
No walking by me when I see it's a fake. I'll close the door on the limits I face. 'Cause in every moment, you got a decision to stay deaf or to listen to a higher mind. A higher mind. A higher mind. A higher mind.
On 5 and 6, we have kind of a drum bus scenario. It's actually not the entire drum bus, but it is the kick snare and the 2 toms. And I have it going to this 5020 stereo FET limiter. And finally, we have the stereo bus. This is the Heritage Audio successor. This is on 7 and 8, and it looks like we have the air circuit still engaged at the moment.
You got a decision to stay blind or unlock the vision to a higher mind. A higher mind.
that's a little bit about the Clarett PLUS OctoPre. And special thanks for Focusrite and Sweetwater for working with me as partners on this video. This was really cool to check out. Again, I've been testing this for 6 weeks, and I really feel that I know the ins and outs and the sound of this. It has a great warm sound. Other units benefit from the word clocking, and the quality of the conversion is something that really outpaces anything that I have at the studio. Finally, the preamps sound great. They're not a colored preamp, but they're a preamp that really gets the job done and provides you with a neutral tone that's easy to mix. If you have any questions about the Clarett PLUS OctoPre, I'd be happy to answer them below in the video comments. You can also check out Focusrite.com and Sweetwater.com. It's really cool to help introduce the Clarett PLUS OctoPre to the world today. I'll talk to you soon.